Assalamualaikum and hi to everyone. My name is Noor Shafiqa Binti Abdullah, and today I am pleased to present my final year project entitled Salt Reduction in Processed Food, Technological, Sensory and Policy Pathway to Scalable Sodium Reduction. I conducted this systematic review under the guidance of my supervisor, Associate Professor Technologist Dr. Eddie Tan TG. So, my presentation today is organized into 5 main sections. I will begin with the background and problem statements, followed by my methodology. Then I will delve into the integrated literature review of the three pathways, technological, sensory, and policy, before concluding with my recommendation. So, excessive sodium consumption is a critical global public health challenge, acting as a primary factor for hypertension and cardiovascular disease. Processed and fast foods now contribute approximately 70% of global sodium intake. In Malaysia, our initiative began with Salt Reduction 1.0 in 2015, which focused on public awareness. However, intake reached a plateau, leading to the necessity of Salt Reduction 2.0, a future-driven strategy aimed at scalable and sustainable reduction without compromising food quality or safety. The core problem I identify is fragmented knowledge. Currently, technological reformulation, sensory perceptions, and policy studies are often conducted in separated studies, either between sensory and policy or sensory and technological studies. This separation creates a barrier to commercial applications. My study seeks to bridge these separated studies to create a comprehensive understanding that translates research findings into commercially viable low-sodium products. These are the research questions that were used in this study. To address this fragmentation, my review was guided by three objectives. The first one is to investigate technological methods based on their effectiveness. The second one is to critically analyze sensory findings regarding taste perception and consumer acceptance. And finally, to develop a combined conceptual framework highlighting scalable pathway. The study is significant because it provides a comprehensive synthesis that supports food scientists in developing lower sodium products while maintaining quality. It also aligns with Sustainable Development Goals 3, 9, and 12, which promoting good health, industry innovation, and responsible production. For my methodology, I follow the Prisma 2020 procedures. I conducted an advanced search in the Web of Science database for English research journals published between January 2020 and December 2025. After a rigorous screening process of 165 records, a final total of 54 papers were included in this systematic review. I have developed an integrated synergistic framework. This framework highlights that impactful salt reduction is only achievable when technological innovation and sensory optimization are supported by strong policy pathways. For the technological pathway, non-thermal technologies like high-pressure processing or HPP and ultrasound improve protein functionality and salt distribution. Crucially, I found that predictive AI is an emerging trend. Models like random forest achieve 97.7% accuracy and predicting aroma outcomes, while artificial neural networks or ANN predicted texture and chewiness in brine cheese. Furthermore, the technological pathway offers ways to bypass chemical substitutes to physical modification, which micronized salt. Micronized salt is reducing crystal size to roughly 168.86 micrometers, which it helps in increases the dissolution rate in saliva, delivering a rapid salty hit. In beef burgers, combining micronized salt with ultrasound allowed for a 50% of sodium reduction with zero impact on consumer liking. In the sensory pathway, potassium chloride, or known as KCl, remains the most viable substitute. However, my analysis identified a critical sweet spot. Sweet spot is the optimal daily intake range that balances health benefit and risk. A partial substitution at 25 to 30% is optimal for maintaining palatability. For instance, in pao chai fermentation, a 30% of substitution actually enhances the sweetness and umami. Conversely, exceeding 50% of KCl substitution will lead to unacceptable bitter and metallic off flavors. To reach higher reduction levels, we must use masking agents. Natural enhancers like lysine, yeast extracts, and MSG effectively mask the bitterness of KCl by enhancing the umami and savory flavor, which make the product taste saltier and more balanced. The study that I reviewed shows that adding amino acids like lysine can improve the texture and water holding capacity of reduced sodium meats while maintaining high consumer scores. The policy pathways provides the driver for these changes. The first one is mandatory sodium limits, such as those in South Africa. The government set the maximum sodium level allowed in specific food products by law and legally enforced by the government. This policy have shown success. They face implementation challenges like high analytical costs and lack of monitoring. Next is the voluntary sodium reduction target implementation in the UK. This policy is recommended by the government but not legally enforced. Food manufacturers encouraged to gradually reformulate their product to meet these targets. It gives the industry flexibility to adapt while still supporting national public health goals. A landmark finding in the policy pillar is the Danish Strife study. This trial demonstrated that gradual starch reformulation over 4 months, with reducing salt in bread by 0.2 gram weekly. It allowed consumer taste thresholds to adapt without noticeable changes in flavor. This provides evidence that gradual reformulation is a feasible strategy to support population-level sodium reduction policies. Regarding consumer behavior, front of pack traffic light labeling, which consists of red, yellow, and green, was identified as the most effective tool for rapid decision making, as the color will help consumers quickly identify whether a product contains high, medium, or low level of sodium. Studies also shows that labels are more effective when read at home, where consumers have more time than under time pressure in store, which has significant implications for public health social marketing. In conclusion, my research confirms that scalable sodium reduction is achievable through a multifactorial approach. No single strategy is sufficient. Instead, success requires the synergistic alignment of technology, sensory science, and policy. Technologies like micronization enable up to 50% of reduction, while policy strategies like gradual reformulation ensure long-term sustainability. I recommend that future efforts focus on commercial validation of these technologies under real production conditions and broadening research to complex categories like ready-to-eat meals. Global standardization of labeling and long-term studies on taste adaptation will be crucial for the next phase of sodium reduction. This is the references that I use in this slide. Thank you for your attention.